I'm here as a member of the IPA Testamentary Capacity Task Force. Thank you, our group, especially they are here, Professor Pesa, Nick, Tim, and members from Hong Kong, Professor Helen Chu and Dr. Joshua. This is the outline of my talk today. I'll go from mechanisms of guardianship among Thailand, Hong Kong, and Australia. And I'll compare commonalities and divergences of the guardianship system among the three cultures. And then I'll go with a summary. Our IPA Testamentary Capacity Task Force has been working on issues related to diminished capacity, undue influences and ability of older person. Last month, part of the presentation today was presented by Dr. Joshua at the IPA 2012 in Cairns at our international meeting. And today I'm going to do a little bit on guardianship issues and more on Thailand. Enactment of guardianship and substitute decision-making processes rely on the interplay between judicial and health systems, culture, and family traditions. So we compare guardianship laws and their use and needs and support for elders with impaired capacity in Thailand, Australia, and Hong Kong. As to give you some information a little bit about the three cultures, Thailand, King of Thailand, we have 66 million population, 12% of elderly, and the legal system is based on civil law. Different from what you have here in Australia and Hong Kong, which is influenced by English common law. In Thailand, there is no guardianship law for adults or older person, just only guardianship laws for minors only. So we have implementation, all the list of these laws to work with guardianship system in Thailand, with especially the first and the second one. The first one, general principle of civil and commercial code, under section person, family, parents, and wills. In criminal law, it does state that, the laws are there, it does state that when children don't take care of their parents, they can be guilty and put in jail. But in my life, I haven't seen this much. Like I said, it's there. And all these things. And living will was a new regulation introduced 2 years ago. It's under, it's a section under the National Health Act. And you all know that in Australia and Hong Kong, there is specific Guardianship Act, whatever you say, whatever you call in Australia, it depends on state and territory. You already have had a guardianship board or act. So key terminology in Thailand, we have no exact word for guardian. For guardian or guardianship, we have Thai words. We have Thai words like Punuban, Pupitat, which is very like a synonym with guardian or guardianship or custody, custodian, that we use it for a person, for a guardian of a person who is insane, which is a terminology in laws, insane or mentally incapacitated or incapable. And you have all here in Australia and Hong Kong with the trusteeship, guardianship, guardian, enduring power of attorney, and other terminologies in Australia, which is applied in each state and territory. How much, how many, how large is the number of the people under guardianship, or how many guardians in Thailand and Australia? We don't have an information, but in Hong Kong, as Dr. So presented last month, I think it's a lot in my view, because they have only 7 million population, with 14% of population with age at least 65 years old, and they have 530 hearings per year and 270 new applications annually. Seems like 2 cases a month. I think it's a lot. And this is an information from Hong Kong that the applicants can be in this list, maybe a relative, officer, or registered medical practitioner. In Thailand, if you want a person to get, if you want to bring the person to the court, they can be, they use the word, in law, they use the word stakeholder. So maybe if that person has problem with relatives or with their families, with their third parties, that can be the start point to get this case to the court and get order. And then a guardian can be appointed. So you may have a question, so who makes decision regarding medical care? In Thailand, it is state under the section person and according by civil and commercial code. So the patient or the person who is older than 20 years old, they can have a right to do anything, to make a decision by themselves, even when they're incapable, but they're not ordered by court yet. So they can sign, they can fingerprint, they can give informed consent, even in research or in medical practice. And next of kin is allowed, such as if tomorrow I see a patient and I think something wrong with the patient, and I think as we examine the patient and he or she is incapable or have problem with decision making, I can ask her spouse, I can ask her children, so I can follow the civil and commercial code for the next of kin that I can consult to make a decision for this person. So I don't have to wait until the court orders. But in Australia, you have a system for guardianship, for enduring guardian, and you have health attorney and responsible person, which can be based on a hierarchy, starting with spouse, children, close carer, and other relatives or close friends, which is different in Thailand. We allow only close relatives or sometimes adopted children, but we don't allow close friends. And Hong Kong, sure, only legal guardian can be making a decision. So the surrogate decision in Thailand is in 2 situations. So after the person was ordered by court as mentally incapacitated or was insane or is incapable, so he or she needs a surrogate decision maker. And this is a flow chart from Hong Kong given by Dr. Joshua. You can see in the middle that when a person is incapable, no one can that we can ask except a legal guardian only. So in Australia and Thailand, we both mandate primacy of the family as surrogate decision makers and provide for a hierarchy of medical decision makers among relatives with informal practices of doctors assessing the ability of the family members to act as such. So what types of guardianship exist in Thailand? A guardian, as appointed by the court, has to do all areas. It depends on what the court orders, from personal welfare to financial affairs. And this goes the same way as, I think, goes the same way as Australia and Hong Kong, which is very domain specific, such as accommodating a person or paying occupation, treatment, giving consent, financial issues. And who makes decision regarding accommodation when the elderly have impaired capacity? Talking about or starting conversation about accommodation is very unusual in Thailand. It's not like myself. I don't dream that I will grow old in a long-term care setting. I will grow old in my own home. So it's not a new issue, but it's an unusual issue to talk about with Thai elderly patients, Thai older people. And elderly owns his or her properties, and as Buddhist teachings, traditions, and cultures have influenced a lot, that children have to take care of the parents when they're aged, and they have values that they have to collect or keep their properties to their later generations. So everyone has to take care of these properties, and they don't have any rights until the parents passed away. There is also stigmatization and shame associated with placement of older people in a long-term care facility. And it's considered ungrateful to a parent when children find a new place for him or her or bring a case to the court. And it's compounded with lack of psychogeriatric services and lack of long-term care settings in Thailand. Most of the long-term care settings are state-run and a home for homeless. And few of its kind are private-run nursing homes. And the patient, if they have conflicts with their children, they can can be self-referred to long-term care. Public officer can take this role when the family rejects the elderly person. But in Australia and Hong Kong, there is a system for placing these elderly to the long-term care setting. What happened when they don't want to leave the home? It depends. They may stay at home and someone else take care of them. If they're rich, they can hire caregivers, one or more. Or if they are poor and they have relatives who are willing to take care of them, they can stay at home. No one can force them. Or they can be forced if they fight with their family. And public officer can take the role when the family doesn't want to do that anymore or can't stand taking care of them anymore. Living will, it's new. 2 years ago that the living will regulation came out. It does state that the big hospital has to have a committee to consider that this person can write a will or not. And then doctor retain the duty to give medication and treatment to make the dying person the most comfortable condition until they die. And in Thailand, they're allowed to die at home, which is different from that in Hong Kong. And this does not include euthanasia at all in Thailand. There is a lawsuit. The Prime Minister is being sued as introducing living will regulation as for many reasons here. The living will regulation is contrary to Section 4 of Professional Medical Practice. The regulation is contrary to public order and public morality, and they didn't have public hearing before introducing this law, and contrary to the Constitution of the Kingdom of Thailand, Section 80. Enduring of power, it's no applicable, no facility in Thailand, unlike what occur in Australia. And in Hong Kong does not include health. So in summary, all three cultures have mechanisms, some formalized statutory, some cultural for proxy decision making for those with impaired decision making. And for Thailand, right now, this is a start, a movement, but the legislation on guardianship needs to be preceded in order to truly benefit the elderly. The legislation relating to the elderly have to make a balance between law enforcement and the role of family and social legacy to benefit the elderly. For Hong Kong, they would like to talk more on power of attorney ordinance to cover health issues, and they have to make more balance on the risk of elder abuse with a very powerful attorney, and the law will be coming out later on. So, mutual understanding of diverse approaches to guardianship and administration law is to be encouraged in this region. Thank you.